Hello and welcome to another episode of the CG Garage. This is episode number 462, featuring Paolo Berto Durante, who is the CEO of JCube. This was a suggested episode, which was fabulous. I'm surprised that Paolo and I have not actually met in person, considering how much we have in common, at least philosophically, and for how long we've been in this industry and doing the things we do and the things that we're passionate about. It's really, really interesting. I think that Paolo is a fascinating person. I think he's done a lot of incredible work, and I'm really kind of interested in what he has to say about rendering and the state of rendering today. So really cool to have him on and to think about all the things that he's discussing in terms of rendering, including things like AI, getting into business, doing different initiatives, and how he started a bunch of different initiatives, especially in the field of rendering. So really cool to see that. We don't have a product announcement just yet, but I will mention a couple of events that we are going to be talking about. All of these, of course, can be found at chaos.com/events. More specifically, I want to talk about the Chaos Unboxed event that's happening on February 27th. And it's going to be a live event online that a lot of people can participate and be part of. So it'd be really cool to see that. We are actually going to have follow up with some in-person events, but the live event, the big one, is going to happen on February 27th. And if you want to be part of that or know more about it, just go to chaos.com/unboxed, where you'll get all that information. Another event that's coming up as well is the NVIDIA GTC AI Conference of 2024. And that's going to be happening in person this year. So very excited that GTC is happening in person again. It will be, of course, in San Jose. And that will be happening on March 17th through the 20th. And we will be there and announcing a bunch of things and initiatives that we're doing in the field of AI and NVIDIA and ray tracing and all those things. So lots of cool stuff that's going on in that area as well. So make sure to check that out. Now, of course, if you guys want to know more about the podcast, you can just go to our podcast page, which is chaos.com/CGGarage. We also have a Facebook page, which is facebook.com/CGGaragePodcast. And if you'd like to watch these podcasts, all of our videos are stored at youtube.com/chaosgrouptv, where we also store the podcasts as well. And again, like I said, this is a recommended episode, and we would love to get more of them if you guys have them. So please let us know. The best way to do that is to email us, labs@chaos.com. Again, that is labs@chaos.com. But for now, please enjoy episode number 462 with Paolo Berto Durante.
Welcome to another CG Garage, where the Chaos Group talks. You'll know it's over when the last bucket drops. We're gonna fire off rays in high dynamic range. We know that ambient occlusion is passe. Global illumination won't lead you astray. And while image-based lighting is really swell, you need to make sure everything has Fresnel.
On this?
I haven't.
That's fine.
But I saw some maybe many years ago. Probably one of the few first.
Yeah, this has been going on for almost 10 years now. So.
Yeah, it must have been 8 years ago. I just returned from a holiday. So
Okay.
I had zero time.
That's good. That's fine. That's all good.
For computers.
That's all good. So you're based in Japan? Is that where you are?
Yeah. I'm based in
Okay. Awesome. Okay. Well,
in Yokohama.
well, I want to know a little bit more. I mean, this is interesting. I got a big list of suggestions of podcasts to listen to and guests. We came in, and your name came up, and so there were people who said that you got a very interesting background, and which I want to get into, and as well as obviously you have a deep enthusiasm and opinion about the world of rendering, which I also want to get into.
I'm sure they say.
But I would love to know a little bit about your background, like what got you into computer graphics, and where is this sort of interest of yours that started this?
Okay, so what got me in computer graphics? I think it was just curiosity about synthetic image generation, because I was maybe 14 or even, I don't even remember. But the first time I touched computer graphics software, it was using 286 Intel CPU on my very first computer, SX actually, so it's a super shitty computer, I remember, with zero
That's what the
RAM.
S stands for in SX.
Yeah, probably. And I was using a software called VGA Topaz or Topaz. I don't even know how to. I even searched for
I have
this
heard of
online
every
many years
remote
ago.
weird one.
Never.
Never heard of this.
So I remember this was rendering the. It was ground shading and was rendering the faces. It was rendering a sphere like this.
Okay.
You know, like you peel an apple or an orange. It was rendering the faces behind that you don't see. And it was like, wow, that's pretty stupid. You know,
Yeah.
I should just waste time, you know, to do that. Anyway, so I started doing that, using that, and then I quickly switched to what was it? I think it was Kinetics Max, the first decent software I used. I know I also used an Italian software called Solid Thinking. That was pretty awesome. Solid Thinking was an herbs modeler with a nice renderer. I think Guido Quaroni from Pixar wrote part of that software.
Okay.
And it was a nice software. I liked it. It was made in Italy. And basically I just played around with these things for my youth.
When were you? What
my
years
youth,
were we talking about approximately?
We're talking about what it was 1980, 1990, something like that. 1991, I guess. And but I was not like a computer nerd. I mean, I was doing a lot of sport. I was always out. In fact, my computer was kind of an interest, which grew. The more I did, the more I studied, the more I did university, the less I was interested in university, and the more I was interested in computers and rendering and things like that. And around my fourth year of university, I became a college dropout. I left uni at the fourth year. I decided, okay, I'll buy a license of Maya for students, and it was, I think, 1 million lira at the time, which is roughly, let's say, $1,000.
Okay.
Something like that, which was quite a lot of money. And I started. I received. I remember. I received from Alias the documentation of Maya. It was Maya 2.0, if I remember.
Okay. This huge
For
bank
Windows-
of books. Just
Yeah, it was like it doesn't even fit
Yeah,
to
it
the
was like,
webcam, but let's say a meter of books. It was, actually, I didn't even started Maya. I read all these books multiple times. Seriously, page by page. I knew way more about that than about all the years of university I did before. I was studying chemistry and physics and things like that, material science, and then I started included with this contract of student edition of Maya. I had 3 months of technical support with Alias WeRender. And of course, I started emailing them. So like, oh, from this doesn't work out, and this doesn't work out. How you do this? It is, but there is a problem here. Blah 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 blah. After I think 2 months, they contacted me. I received a phone call. My mother picked up the phone. It's like, hey, Paolo, there is somebody from Alias. They speak in English, so okay, I reply. And basically they say, okay, so we decided to offer you a job because it will take less time for us if you work with us than answering all your emails. So I said, wow, okay, amazing, And the job was in Europe. It was in the Alias Wavefront European EMEA Center, so Europe, Middle East, and Africa Center. They used to have one in Europe. And most amazingly, it was the same in Ghent, in Belgium. And most amazingly, it was the same city where my brother went to live from Italy to, 15 years. My brother is much older than me. He's 21 years older than me. So he left home at 14 and ended up in that city. And I ended up in the exact same city.
just per chance.
I don't know, like 20 years later for pure chance. So it was completely incredible. Then I started working there, and I mean, I can go.
No,
on
no,
if you want,
please.
if
This
you
is
have
great.
any questions. Okay. So I went to work there, and my English was pretty bad because I could understand everything, write everything, and read everything, but speaking was a bit. I was still learning. So it was a nice practice, and then I met a bunch of interesting guys. First time I used IRIX, and I had my O2. It was quite amazing. I had to learn all this new stuff.
What were you using?
I mean, I
what were
didn't
you
know
using
nothing.
at home to do Maya? Were you using?
I had a 486 DX.
Okay.
I think the D stands for decent in this case. And
Yeah.
I used that for Maya.
50
Yes, it
megahertz or
was
60
running-
megahertz? It's like
I don't remember. See, maybe 60,
Yeah.
yeah. And I was with 16 megabyte of RAM. I remember it costed
a lot of
money.
money.
that
16
machine.
megs was a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. 16, wait, maybe, I think so. I think it was 16.
Uh-huh.
And I used that. But of course, when I came to Alias, I mean, I had an O2. I didn't use Windows there for quite
You were
a while.
using
So I
IRIX,
was
right?
mostly using IRIX, which was amazing. It was because I did use Linux before. There was a guy in my hometown. I come from a super small village. I'm talking about 8,000
Right.
people in the countryside, and there was one guy that was using Linux in the whole town. I think I was around 15 when I saw Linux the first time. It was Coherent Linux. It was
Okay.
called. I don't know if it exists now. I don't
Sure.
think so. I don't remember which type of Linux it was. It's a long time. But I remember this guy showed me that, and he showed me Doom, which it was like, I don't know, alien landed on Earth would have been less shocking than seeing Doom the
Right.
first time. So I was absolutely amazed again, graphics in my face. So I was super interested. But I'm not a game geek. In fact, I never play.
Sure.
I find it a complete waste of time, but it's fine. And what else?
So you're in Belgium
Well,
at
maybe
this point.
CG is also
Yeah.
a game.
So you're in
Excuse me?
Belgium at this point. Let's go.
I'm in Belgium. We're coming back.
Sure.
Coming back. Yes, I was in Belgium, and I worked there 2 years. I learned a bunch of things. Of course, I didn't know nothing. In reality, I was just, a super novice. But after 2 years, I became very popular in the company because in Alias we had this thing called IOTD, Image of the Day. So it was a intranet website where you could post an image and write something
Sure.
about that. And I was basically posting an image of the day, maybe one every week for 2 years. And I think I outdid anybody in that in sheer volume. So everybody in the company, Paolo, the guy of the image of the day. And also was writing this little story because you had to post the image and the story about what inspired you, what was, how you did it, why did you did it. So I was always writing something funny / interesting / weird in this box. So I became quite, not a celebrity, but everybody really knew me. And I didn't know them, by the way. So, so let me think. So, and actually the image, I wish I could have a backup of that somewhere. I don't really care about backups, but I'm sure they have it. It would be great if they have it. Because I'd like to read what I was writing back in the time. And let me think, what was funny about that? So I made many of them, and at some point I asked my boss, he was very nice guy called Wim Drissens, if he could send me to SIGGRAPH. I think it was after 1 year I was there. So after 1 year I was like, hey, I want to go to SIGGRAPH. And he told me, well, I mean, we never send anybody after 1 year, usually at the second year. And I was like, no, I really want to go because there is this gallery, the electronic gallery, I forgot the name. I love art, and my family has a furniture design background, so I love design, art. And so, but yeah, he basically told me it's against the policy, we can't. So I said, I really want to go there. I sent an email to a guy, to one of the Alias founders, Mark Sylvester. I don't know if you know him. He's a famous guy. Mark Sylvester sent an email. It was a I think it was a very cleverly written email, basically saying if I don't go to SIGGRAPH this year, something like that. I don't really remember. It was better than this, but it will hurt my professional, career, and it will limit my experience. This guy was also an artistic guy,
Right.
by the way. It will limit my mental development, something like that. And the guy said, "Okay, I'll pay for you." So he said he
Wow.
basically flew me. He phoned to my boss, and my boss like, "I have no idea what you've done, but you're going to SIGGRAPH." So I went to SIGGRAPH. And
Which year SIGGRAPH was this?
Everybody, oh man, I don't know.
Probably around 95.
I was 22 years ago.
Okay.
No, it was 2000 and
2002?
2002. Yes, 2000.
That would have been San Antonio?
No, I think it was it was
It's Los Angeles? Okay.
Yeah, the year after was San Antonio.
Okay. Yeah.
So I went there, and as I said, everybody knew me. I didn't know them. That was a very strange feeling.
Yeah.
But basically, I was there with no official job to do. So I was probably the only Alias employee at SIGGRAPH, except the big guys that I absolutely had nothing to do. So I checked everything. Every little stand is the most insignificant thing. I checked it. I spoke with everybody, and I had a great time. And I said, I will go to SIGGRAPH from now on every year. And I did. So after these 2 years in Belgium, Alias decided to... It was that period that, they bought they switched to NT, which was, of course, good and bad, let's say. But it was bad because it killed the MIPS, and SGI, which was our parent company, was basically sold Alias Wavefront. Our stocks were worthless at the time, I remember. So they decided to close the European office and relocate only very few people to Toronto. Basically, a couple of big guys. And they asked me too, actually. Okay, do you want to go to Toronto? And I said, no, I want the bonus, because there was a 20,000 euro bonus. No, bonus, like, how do you say?
Severance package?
Severance package, yes. Which was very good for 2 years of work. And I said, I'm sorry, I want the money.
Right.
So I got the money. I didn't accept I was one of the 5 people that they wanted to relocate. And I said, because I became an expert of mental ray, by the way, in this whole thing, I became the point of reference of mental ray for the company. Sure. Not development, but mostly on usage.
Okay.
And yes, so I took the money, and the day after we were terminated, I got a call from, hey, listen, we really want you to come, so we hire you again. So I was rehired after 1 day.
Still got the bonus, so you got both.
Yes, yeah, it was great. So I went there, and we started to Toronto, and I worked in product development. That was the Studio Tools product development. And they were developing a software called, I think I can say anything because many years have passed, right? I guess. Anyway, they were developing, developing a software that was based on mental ray.
Right.
And they wanted me to, be part of this team. And I remember I went there, and some guy showed it to me, and he asked me for a couple of days, and he asked me, "What do you think about it?" And I was like, "Do you want my honest opinion?" And he said, "Yes, of course." I was like, "I think this is never gonna work." And the guy said, "Man, I'm the product manager." It's like, oh my god, that was like I started bad. But indeed, it didn't work. They never sold it.
Okay.
And then I switched to the Maya team for the mental ray integration. And the mental ray was still gaining a lot of popularity, and I knew a lot of this thing. I mean, there were so many, mental ray had so many settings, I think more than V-Ray, way more than V-Ray, which has many. And after that, what happened? I had to come back to Italy because of family reasons.
Okay.
And when I was in Italy, I said, okay, Toronto is fine, but the work was a bit boring. So I decided, okay, I'll stay in Europe and near family is easier. And I will just go to Mental Images and ask I mean, this is in my mind, and I was talking to myself. I would go to Mental Images and ask for a job. So I take a flight, go to Mental Images, knock knock. Good old time, where you can knock yourself into a job. Now I don't need to go 75 interviews probably. Maybe not in your company. Your company, I think, is still cool.
Thank you.
And I know the guys from that time.
Yeah.
Actually. Anyway, I went in and knock, and I met the boss of Mental Images, Rolf Hartken, and a bunch of other people. There were many cool people. The management was very strict, to say the least, but the people were good. Nice. And so they told me, "You're too weird. You don't have really I cannot put you in a box."
But were you a developer? What was your
kind of a half and half, more of a special user, a guy that can make beautiful images, a guy that can support client, a guy that has some ideas. So I think my classification is hard, but I like to develop a product, basically.
Gotcha.
So understand what are the limits, what should be trashed, what should be done, this kind of things. I think it's called product manager. But anyway, I was there. And they told me, okay, I will just create a whole department just for you. It was called Special Projects.
There you go. That's my title, right? It was a lot of
fun. I didn't know.
Director of Special Projects.
Perfect. Okay, there you go. So you probably also don't fall in a box.
No, they don't know what to do. Like, I don't know.
Exactly. That's very cool. As I told you, you work for a cool company.
Yep.
So yeah, I was doing... So as part of the Special Project, I was basically looking at Mental Ray, trying to see what was to be done, to be removed. And then they gave me this fantastic job. I really loved it. It was, okay, we know Mental Ray has problems. Try all the other renderers from A to Z, I mean, the good stuff, of course, and tell us what you think. That took me a year. So I became kind of very good at benchmarking software and understanding what is good at and what is absolutely not good at. And before coming to the conclusion of this, in these 4 years between the Alias times and the Mental Images time, I spent a lot of time traveling to do a little bit of consulting for companies as under Mental Images and under Alias. A lot of master classes. I don't even know how many. Two per year in 10 years. So I've been everywhere in Japan multiple times, all over the world. They were sending me. It was an amazing job because, I had to prepare the master class. It was two months of hard work, but then I could do it a couple of times, see nice places. And I always asking for an extra week to spend in the place I was going. Sure. To see the place I was going, because I cannot just go work and learn nothing about this place. And I always managed to talk my way into getting this deal done. And so I traveled a lot. I loved Japan, of course. When I came to Japan the first time, it was incredible. The bus ride, the highway into the city at night. I was like, it was. I have shivers just thinking about it. It's incredible. And I live here. So yeah, but we are returning. I did all these master classes, met a gazillion of people, very interesting. And my official job, yes, besides this, was to do the benchmarking and testing of all the other renderers. And I remember my output was, okay, out of all this stuff, I checked, first of all, we have to change the displacement. It's an absolute disaster. Displacement, instancing, geometry processing in Mental Ray was very bad. The subdivisions and things like that. And I told him, for me, out of all I tried, and was Renderman, V-Ray, 3D Light. What did I try? I don't know. There was not so much stuff back in the time. There was something else.
Still was Final Render still around? And
yeah, but we were not
3D Light
concerned about it.
What was the other one? Yeah.
3D Light was my what I came back and said, okay, this is absolutely the best. It's better than Renderman. It was for production, in my opinion, the best renderer. Still is, in my opinion. But I mean, it's changed completely now. Anyway, yeah, so I was really like, I cannot keep working for this company that makes such a bad product, and all the interest all the interest in mental images at the time was trying to scale the company with something called a reality server.
Right.
Reality
Yeah.
server.
Remind us what that is. I
Yeah.
totally forgot about the reality server.
Well, Omniverse is
Yes.
the evolution of reality
Right.
server. Let's put it this way. I was calling it a reality observer, by the way, just pissing them off big time. Yeah, but there was a big, Meta Images scaled a lot. There were like 50 people working on this, and some ideas were very good, some ideas were not good, like in every big project or new project. But basically, they didn't manage to succeed, and the company got absorbed by NVIDIA. I think they paid around 18 million, which was, man, they did a very good deal there. I mean, NVIDIA already owned a little part of Mental Images before
Right.
they finished buying it. But I was totally uninterested to work there at the time, because I was like, this is not going to go anywhere. And Mental was dead, basically. I was actually saying it while being at the company, not public.
Was
but I
Gelato around at that time?
Gelato was already there, yes, already in the market. Also, Entropy was in the market.
Entropy too, right? And those were
2004.
GPU based renderers, weren't they? No.
No, Entropy, no.
But
Entropy
Gelato was.
not GPU. Gelato was.
Yeah.
And so what happened after that? Well, I basically left Mental Images, and it was 2007. And I started, I think the day after I left Mental Images, I contacted 3D Light. I said, I like your product. Let's do something together.
Okay.
And I kind of have this relationship with 3D Light being out, but very close since 2007. So it's quite a long time. And by the way, I built multiple products based on 3D Light, not personal. I mean, I contributed to building. And I usually have the first idea, and that I still do this. I'm a bit ahead of time on some ideas, unfortunately, and get slammed after. But yes, I started, I was working outside. I was still doing these master classes. I did some on 3D Light, by the way, back in the time for Alias. It was very weird. And then the 2008 was the big crisis, the financial crisis, the banking disaster, and subprime. And I decided to go to, basically there was no work. I created something called the Jupiter Jazz Group. And inside the Jupiter Jazz Group, there were a bunch of interesting people. And we were basically doing consulting gigs for companies or whatever client we could find. But in 2008, everything was stopped because of the financial crisis. So there was absolutely no work. I said, okay, there is no work. What should I do? I said, okay, I'll just take a sabbatical and I go windsurfing for 1 year. Basically, I went windsurfing in the cheapest place possible, which was Egypt, in Dahab, actually. Very beautiful. And I was not really a windsurfer. I learned there. I became pretty good at it. And because, of course, if you do something 8 hours a day for 1 year, you become good, even if you don't want to. And so I windsurfed there for a year. And while I was there, the more I was there, the more ideas were
percolating.
It's like, and actually I'm a big fan of this process of working and stopping work for quite some time, because it will fuel your mind. Basically, all the bullshit goes away, and only the good stuff sticks, and then the good ideas come out. They only come out if you don't work. If you work every day, you become, it's like your mind gets grayed out, your vision gets
I see what you mean. Yeah.
And so when I was there, around the end, I was like super thinking all the time, okay, what? And I decided, okay, I'm going to create a company in Hong Kong. And I don't know for what, for doing something. And then...
But why Hong Kong?
While I was... tax reasons.
Okay.
Okay. And also, I loved Hong Kong. So a big fan of Wong Kar-wai movies and Hong Kong cinema in the 90s, like Infernal Affairs. And those. I love cinema, but only the
In the
good
mood
stuff.
for love and all that stuff.
And in the mood for love, yeah, there you go, there you go. Chunking Express, etc., etc. So I was totally in love with Hong Kong, and I think while I was in Egypt, I was always kind of complaining about Manta Ray publicly in the CG Talk. It was CG Talk forum, and
Yes.
it was fun. And there was another guy that was always complaining too. It was my future business partner for my first venture. And we were always complaining. It was so much fun. It was like trash talking when it was fun. You know? I mean, trash talking is fun, but now it's kind of forbidden. Or people, you trash talk somebody,
Right.
you know. Back in the time, you could be totally rough and nobody would
Sure.
care. You know, they would be rough back. It was
Sure.
fun. Now they're all whining, I think. Ridiculous. Anyway, with this guy, we started this company, and we made Atomcraft, which was the very first external renderer for Nuke. Okay, and it had subdivision surfaces, subsurface scattering, amazing motion blur.
Was it a ray tracer?
Deformation transform.
Yes.
Of course, because it was based on 3D Light rendering library, and 3D Light was the only Reyes / the first Reyes ray tracer before Blue Moon rendering
Right.
tools.
Okay.
BMRT, if you
Yes.
remember. And it was excellent. It was a very nice product. And unfortunately, two things happened there. The foundry started to copy us, and also you guys started to copy us, because V-Ray for Nuke
Yep.
came exactly 1 year
Okay.
after. And then we were a bit unlucky there, because while we were doing it, and we and several productions, Image Engine was using it, a company in Tokyo was using it. While we were doing it, we started spending money on developing an After Effects version of this thing, which was called Atomcraft for After Effects. And but while when we released that software, just a month before, something called Element 3D came out. And that totally was a big problem for us, because it was the first 3D rendering. I was using GPU, it was integrated. There were some good ideas in there, but it was mostly our stuff was magnitude of times better in quality. But just people liked it, and it was done by a guy that was super duper famous in the After Effects community, which we didn't know at all. So it was After Effects community. By the way, I hate After Effects. Trash. And
I could have guessed that.
yeah, so this guy was like me with Manta Ray, you know, so he could, whatever he was saying, everybody, the sheep would follow.
Sure.
You know. So I don't remember his name, but he was a nice guy. I never met him. I'm not complaining about him. He did right. And Element 3D basically kind of killed us. And at the same time, yeah, there were the foundry made a deal with Renderman. I don't know, to put the Pierman render node in Nuke. But it was, I mean, Atomcraft was like 10 years ahead. In fact, they totally failed with that. And I think now, after 20 years or whatever, 2017 years, they are now, we even had alembic geometry reading inside the Nuke. We were the first, of course, to do it. And you had the tree of geometry. Now they're doing the same things with USD, but they still lack the render, by the way. And the foundry made the render. They tried with scanline render. They tried to make their own ray tracer called the ray render, another failure. And now they have a scanline render too, probably another failure. And
Sure.
whatever. So they did that, and so back in the time when I was in Hong Kong, unfortunately I had again some family troubles, and which overlapped with all these things. So it was very, very complicated time. The good thing there is that I met my wife in Hong Kong, and I decided to move to Japan. She's Japanese, and actually that changed my life in good, in better. And we moved to Japan, and I started another company called JCube, which is the current. And in Japan. And in JCube, we started, we developed many things, many cool things. And one was Maneki, the first toon rendering software with geometric processing. was extremely successful for the first year. It was, of course, based on lib3d Lite under the hood. And but we did a lot of things like geometry simplification, special lights, special materials, special features for outline detection, etc., etc., etc. And that software was very successful. Went into multiple productions. Of course, 2 years after we did this, everybody started doing. You guys do tune render, tune shader, tune whatever. Arnold copied. Everybody. When somebody has an idea, everybody needs to fill that hole, because at the end of the day, people, decision makers that usually don't know, look at check boxes. It does this, does this. We buy it. So anyway, we did that, and we also did Multiverse, that is still running well. The first USD integration for Maya, for which we have a gazillion of users, free users, that don't pay nothing. But the number, I think sometimes I see an email from Amazon that says like, you're surpassing 20 million Lambda calls this month, And I said, 20 million, we should be millionaires, But it's all free users that use it. God knows, probably, we know, but we cannot say. But the large majority is non-official licenses. God knows from the usual places, basically. Right. With 7 billion people in the planet,
Yep.
Yeah, so and we were the first on USD. We started doing Multiverse for Alembic, because Alembic is still, of course, it was a wise choice, because it was the market standard. But at some point, it was the right time to switch to USD, and it was a good choice. And Multiverse has been used, I think, over 50 production. At some point we decided, okay, we support all the renderers because we will have more market share. So we have also V-Ray, of course. Of course, now you guys are doing all the tools inside V-Ray, so we have much less V-Ray customers than before. But it's okay, it's fine, no problem. And what else? And then we are doing another software, which for sure will be copied by everybody in the future. And unfortunately, this software costs a lot of money to make. It's called WeRender. Is an API to render images through command line. You use a Python script, and this whatever language, actually Python, C#, whatever. This API allows you to describe a scene and make a request to render it and get back the image. Similarly, you can think about, it's not really cloud rendering, but in the sense that you do it. But it's a service that can request an image and get back the image, or a video, a sequence of images, or
is it AI
or
based?
Geometry. No. There's no AI. It's pure. It's pure compute.
Okay.
Pure compute. But the key of this software is the price. So we can make a very beautiful image in always is, regardless of the complexity, is around 1 to 2 minutes. So it's irrelevant, the content. The cost is the key. It can be very, very cheap. So a very beautiful image costs cents, literally cents. And it's not done for the CG market or for animation, for VFX. It's for everybody else.
Okay.
Like a manufacturing company that has 1 million parts, wants to make a catalog of these parts, or a website of these parts, can describe a scene and swap the asset and get back an image.
So, but
at a super cheap price.
do you just feed it 3D data, or you said you described the scene as a...
Everything under the hood is USD, but the USD API is super complex. So we made an API that is understandable not by a CG guy, by a web developer. So the software is for web developers.
Okay.
And web developers that work for manufacturing, for anything except CG. But basically you have 3D objects everywhere, right? 3D models everywhere. And many companies, like in Italy, have no idea, because it's not, and they cannot hire a person like me or you or whoever, an expert on it, because we are super expensive, and after 2 years we leave. So they would need at least 2. That means twice the cost. And So this software is made for a complete different class of people, for a complete different purpose. And in fact, the end user is a service. So it's a service that talks with another service. You could have a Python script that generates images and connects to the Twitter API and posts these images. No user sitting. I'm a big fan of this. The user removing myself. Actually, I want to kill my job.
Right.
So I don't need to do it, right? I don't like softwares where you have to sit in front of the computer and spend your lifetime to do something if it can be automated as much as possible. Yep. But still without AI, because AI, I mean, you could put AI as a byproduct. So, for example, WeRender could generate 1,000 images, then you can apply your own AI to study those images and do something new out of it.
Sure.
But yes, I want to be on top before AI generation.
Interesting.
So that's what we are currently doing now. Probably, I already know, probably somebody, Google, Amazon, they will copy this and they will make billions out of it because it's a need for the industry. And Omniverse is, again, another software where the user ultimately, it's even worse because you have to stay in front of the computer, plus you have to buy the expensive GPU, plus you have to buy on the client side, and then you stream pixel generated by a GPU on the server side. So you pay, it's like, of course, NVIDIA stocks skyrocket because it's money from every side, you know.
Yeah.
But yes, it's their right to make money, and congratulations for that. And, but it's my right not to like it. Though.
Well, what is your opinion about the state of rendering today? Obviously, you've gone through so many different things, and back you said you were, one of your original jobs is to try all the different renderers. And honestly, my opinion about trying all the different renderers, it doesn't matter in the end, is whoever gets there faster.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, for me now that I've spent 20 plus years on rendering, all I care is simplicity. And it means I am against any software that presents to me 100 plus parameters. Sure. I'm not interested. From this point of view, I think only 3D Light and SI has a good approach. It's not because I like it. It's just as it is. It's the way. And, there's no sampling on lights. There is no sampling on shaders. There's basically 2 controls or quality controls. Could be even less, technically speaking. And the shaders are very well done, very simple. And you can get, you really, if you spend time in front of a computer, I think you should not spend time with the tool. You should spend time doing what the tools allow you to do. So it's like, if I'm a carpenter, I'm not gonna study a manual or gazillion of information about my saw or hammer. Those things should be natural. It's what I'm doing that counts, not all the million settings that there are. So from my point of view, simplicity is the only thing I care about rendering. And very few people does it. Like, you guys unfortunately don't do it. RenderMan, it's the...
Well, we don't do it, but because we don't do it because our customers are asking us to keep the settings there. But honestly speaking, I just turn V-Ray on and I don't change anything.
But you do it for a job? I mean, do you do it? You don't do it for a client, right?
No, I mean, even when I'm working at work, I never change anything. I oftentimes I have found, and this goes back 20 years especially, I'll go someplace and someone has a big problem, like, their scene won't render, or it takes too long, or whatever.
It's because
what do I do is I turn everything to default setting and it works great.
It's classic. Yeah, but it's in a way it's exactly what I'm saying. You give a lot of controls to users, they will damage themselves. Yes. So you need to remove I don't care. They say, oh no, I really want, I don't care. Actually, I'm on the side of saying, you don't want, we will remove it. You don't want to use it. It's your problem. We know it's the right thing to do.
It's true.
I prefer to lose the client and make a better
There's
product.
a lot of, I don't want to, I think this has changed a lot in the day, but there was a time where people thought that their livelihood and their job was knowing what every single setting does, right? Just like when you were reading all those books in Maya, you knew everything. Absolutely.
Right? Absolutely. Everything about useless stuff.
Useless, yeah.
That it's absolutely useless. I mean, it's not useless for me because it was useful for me. But ultimately, all this knowledge that I have from this old soft, it's all outdated.
Right.
Everything has changed, and I think I would have spent better my time learning something that stayed other than something that it's gone. So, but of course, yes, if you do it with so much persistence, then at least in your mind, at least you can quickly understand now, okay, this is good, this is bad. But it's interesting. It's an interesting discussion. But simplicity, I mean, not wasting time is important.
Yeah.
I'm not saying AI simplicity. That's
What is your thoughts about that? Because now creating an image, the definition of creating an image has changed so drastically in the last several years.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, I'm totally against it. I couldn't be more against. I can try to explain this way. Let's say that I want to make a painting about a horse that is flying over the clouds with a jar of candies, whatever, right? Of course, I can write this and I input it 10 times until I, see something that I like. But if I personally try to do it, my skills as a designer or illustrator will improve because I'm actually doing something. Of course, it will not be good the first time. I will have to work. It will take me hours, maybe days, but I will improve my skills. And second, my brain will be stimulated by the act of doing it. If instead use the AI generation process, it's basically just talking. You don't learn anything. Your skill does not improve. It's just maybe your language. You can refine your language a bit, but you become basically AI will make us more stupid. So I'd never use it. It's like I am convinced about it. I mean,
Okay.
I can go on the street and see.
What about just like, let's talk about just general rendering, like in terms of, you've seen it from the very beginning. You were mental ray stuff. So if you're a mental ray person from those early days, you were very much a ray tracer, right? It sounds to me.
Yeah.
So what's your thoughts about how rendering and ray tracing is going today in terms of that quality of light?
I think we have found the best possible, most efficient algorithm is forward path tracing. There is no doubt about it. That's why everybody's using it, and it's gonna stay for a very long time. Everybody is trying to do bidirectional, but there is no good system currently. VCM, all these bidirectional techniques are not good enough. Or Markov chain Monte Carlo. Sometimes the simplest is Occam's razor. The simplest is the better. Yes, you need more sampling. It's fine. You will get more computing power. Don't worry about it. With the cloud, you have unlimited computing power. Right. So what's the problem? Why making the software complicated when you just simply wait for power to be there? And now we have it because cloud is unlimited. I think it's much better to make all your renderer distributed for cloud computation. So each bucket can be computed by a different instance, rather than spending time making algorithms that cannot be distributed. That should be forbidden. And still everybody is doing it. They don't get
single-threaded people. No.
Must be distributed. Right. It's not only about single thread. It's really the ability of the renderer to split the jobs without for the algorithm to be distributed. Not all of them are distributed. Actually, the large majority are not. So yeah, I think that's the future of rendering is distribution, and forward path tracing is still the best. For generating.
What about GPUs and how GPU hardware has now obviously integrated things like RT cores, etc.
I'm not a big fan of GPUs because how do you say? Ultimately, let's just look at ultra high quality movies right now. Still everything is CPU, and I think is going back to CPU more because CPU have not been dormant. So now CPU are very good. Like AMD CPUs are really, really good for rendering. I think they have totally the lead currently. And you can, if you have a distributed approach and use the cloud, there's no way that you beat it from the cost efficient point of view. Maybe GPU can do, although all the algorithms need to be changed and the GPU logic is completely different from the CPU logic. And by the way, to use a GPU, you need a CPU. It's not like either or.
Sure.
Right. So
I can't just buy a
we are talking
GPU and
about
put
CPU.
power in it and I have an image.
Yeah. So exactly. So for me, GPU is useful only as a preview. That's it. If you want to do final image, it should be done on the CPU. It should be done distributed. It should be done on the cloud. GPU, if you want to spend the money to have it, yeah, you can.
What about
and
real-time
you can use it for
rendering?
preview, but that's another matter. Yeah, that's good.
Okay.
For real-time rendering, yeah, there's no choice. You have to use the
Okay.
GPU. But I call it preview.
Okay.
I call this real-time for me is
Okay.
preview. And yeah, I think that's going to continue because if we go back, you're also not a spring chicken, so you can go back in time, right? And you will remember how many times people said in your life, "Oh, GPUs are gonna be GPU render is gonna be, it's that's it. GPU rendering it will be the next thing." The first time I heard this sentence was probably 20 years ago with Gelato.
I do
And
too.
then
I do
it
too.
happened every 2-3 years.
The way that I remember it, Vlado's always been very much a GPU guy as well. But what he's always said is like CPUs are still very good.
Yes, exactly.
They still do their job.
No, and they're getting better.
and
Not only, and they're getting better.
and you can get a lot of RAM.
Exactly. And one thing that I think amazing that maybe people did not, maybe many smart people figured it out, but what Apple is doing that is creating these SoCs.
Oh yeah.
It's unbelievable because these SoC, first of all, there is no need for the GPU is integrated.
It's all there. Yeah.
So that's amazing already. And you have access to the whole memory of the
because
machine.
they're shared.
So
Yeah.
if you so that's intelligent design. What I think about this NVIDIA big things, those things remind me of the Silicon Graphics Indigo multiple impact blah blah blah. You remember those beast graphics card that you plug in as if it's a nuclear bomb or something, or
Yeah.
any fact it exploded. And I think I find these big things totally anachronistic.
Right.
In fact, I'm sure that many people have many of those stuck in their house, and they don't rush it because they pay too much for it. So they need even.
But they're still being used for things like AI training and all these other things.
Yeah. But you can see
They
now
took them
NVIDIA,
off the
basically
Bitcoin mining and they put them onto the other one.
Yeah. And now they become even more big. They become like the Silicon Graphics origin. You remember those big fridge, pink, blue? They are doing it again. It's amazing. Yeah. So I find nothing new in what's happening now. And instead, what Amazon is doing, what Apple is doing, those are smart things. And Amazon has their CPUs. They're called Graviton. Mm-hmm. They're amazing.
We render on Graviton.
Those CPUs are.
We render on Graviton.
Yeah. 3D Light 2. So it's cheaper.
Well, it's so
fast.
much less power, right?
Yes, it takes so much less power, so it obviously becomes cheaper, right? So those are smart things. NVIDIA is powered by it got fueled by gaming, yes, then Bitcoin, and then now there is AI, yes, and they're starting to be bigger and bigger and bigger. In my opinion, it's the classic path of self-destruction, but it's gonna maybe not happen because it's too big now. I don't know. We will see, but I will laugh if it happens. Plus, we have this recorded, so I can say, hey, 20 years ago.
I still have my original episodes. Don't listen to them; they're not that good. 10 years ago, but yeah, no, that's true. It's very interesting. I mean, I too, I'm a huge fan of ray tracing. I believe that rasterized rendering. 2006. I was like, I was rendering shadow maps for Ghost Rider at Sony, and I said, I am never going to do this again. This is the stupidest thing in the world. Right?
Yeah.
And it just doesn't make any sense. So I don't think rasterized rendering is a solution for real-time anymore. People now still use it, and I think that ray tracing is the only answer for real-time. I still strongly believe in real-time because I believe the power of what real-time can do for a lot of things. Not for everything. I still believe offline rendering is a huge. You can do way more. But I still think that real-time ray tracing or real-time rendering, specifically ray tracing, will be very, very important for a lot of things.
It is already. It's there, but it's they complement each other, basically.
But I feel that we are now in that state. Remember around 2006 when people finally said, oh, you know what, screw it, we're just all going to ray tracing. That's where we are now with real time. I think at this point...
maybe, but I don't think images from movies will ever be done with of course, you can make a shot or something. Yes, you can. I don't think... because of the cost.
But people do use real time for movies, less in-camera VFX is done with real time, right? So it's the background is done that way. Now,
yes,
it's sometimes it's cheated, sometimes they bake the lighting, sometimes they do all that.
Yes.
But I still believe that there's going to be real-time stuff that's done, and the more, or for preview, as you mentioned before. But
for previews is undeniable.
If that preview looks much closer to the final image than it did before, then filmmakers are going to be much happier with what they see.
Yes. It's going to be tricky because also data is increasing. Mm-hmm. That means you need more memory. Mm-hmm. That means, and the cost of doing the same with a hardware renderer is so higher. And there are limitations.
There's a ceiling.
At the end of the day, if you are a factory that produces images like, I don't know, Weta or whatever, you will end up doing the finals still with offline. I cannot imagine this to happen.
Yeah.
I may be wrong, but I don't think it's going to happen. It will be always cheaper by definition.
Right. What about, we mentioned a little bit about AI, but what about AI used in things like denoising or upsampling?
That can work. Can work. That definitely can work. I still believe there will be glitches, so maybe that will be a nightmare for render wranglers.
Oh yeah.
I cannot trust 100% blindly this.
Sure.
Because I know it works. I mean. But it can do an excellent job, and for still image, for sure, no brainer.
No brainer.
For still image, no brainer.
Temporal denoising is more challenging.
Yeah. Temporal consistency, probably unachievable 100%. Probably. But you can go near, but 100%, no, I don't think so. But, there's many types of products in the market, right? I'm talking about video products. Like if you watch a TV series for kid or you watch whatever, the mega blockbuster, it's two different products.
Sure.
And that means two different quality requirements. I don't think a kid will say, oh my God, there is a glitch there. They won't care too much. If the thing costs you half to do it, you will do it. If you're smart. So I think there will be space for both, and I don't think offline will die. I think offline will continue.
Yeah, I don't think offline will die. I just think that the power of real time will become more important and more ubiquitous.
Yeah, it is already more important. That's for sure.
Yeah,
that's undeniable for me.
It's interesting to see this, and it's really cool to hear your thoughts on this stuff because that's this.
I'm usually always against
the norm,
the general. Yes, yeah, I think it's good as a mental exercise.
Of course.
So I'm happy if I'm proved wrong. I really I am.
Yes, I know.
But at least I went.
Absolutely, I think you're right to test the waters on this. I think it's really interesting that you do these exercises you've gone through and that you've thought about this rendering idea for so long. I think that creating synthetic images is something that people have been doing for since painting.
Yeah, millennia. I mean, from the caves in France. I forgot the name of the caves.
Lascaux caves, yeah. But thinking about what that is in terms of lighting and how that understands things is also very interesting. I think.
Yeah, because if you simulate in your mind and then transfer this instruction to your arm and and until the brush, like you think about a Van Gogh painting or like capturing the light. I don't know, Rembrandt capturing this guy has a renderer built in into his brain. That's beautiful. The more you use AI, the more this will be gone.
Right.
This ability.
Well,
sometimes I can fix a bug just by thinking. It's incredible. I even surprised at myself. Like in a chat, like, I have this problem. Like, let me think. It's almost you simulate the rendering process in your mind. That's probably that, without even touching the computer.
Right. I think it's.
And I remember some people are like, "Wow, how did you do it?" It's like 20 years of bullshit, man.
Yeah. I mean, like you mentioned Rembrandt. I also, one of my good friends, Ian Spriggs. He is a adamant study of art history and of portraits, and he creates these incredible portraits that are highly inspired by things like Rembrandt, right? And then look at what he does, and it's like, oh, you're a V-Ray expert, and he himself would say, it's like I just use it. Right? Because all of his skills are not necessarily, what makes him special is not that he's good at V-Ray. What makes him special is that he really understands portraits.
Yeah, absolutely. And that knowledge, it's important to not only to preserve, but to transfer to the next whatever is on. Like in Japan, we have this master and apprentice. I think it's called senpai kohai relationship. And this actually, it was not only in we had it in art, like in Italy, for example, during in Florence in the 1600, I think 1400, I forgot. But we had this relationship. We had the master and this apprentice, and the apprentice was learning, then the master was dying, then the next guy will teach somebody else something.
We have those in Japan too. They're called senseis.
I think kohai is senpai. I think it's the two terms, but I forgot which is which. I think senpai is the teacher and kohai is the apprentice. And I think AI is gonna be a major disturbing factor for this relationship in some fields. Luckily, AI will not, I hope, be used for carpenters or stuff like that. Otherwise, the houses will be, a disaster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I still, ultimately, I mean, I would say, like, by design, by almost definition of AI, it can only do what it already knows, right? It can only do based it on things that have already exist. So original thought are not going to be possible without human input.
No, not possible. Yeah, that's the only thing that it's good by brackets is that you will exercise more your brain into explaining to the AI what you want to do. But ultimately, you become less able. It's like that movie, with the Pixar movie WALL-E, which I love. I mean, I love the first part where they don't say a word. I think is genius. It's a masterpiece. As soon as you have a human that says hello, the movie is trash, in my opinion. But it really says something important in how humans will become. Fat, lazy, and unable to do anything. Right. Sitting on a chair, munching like a Roman emperor.
I will say this, and I'm just playing a little bit devil's advocate the same way.
Go for it.
I think it's amazing how much people have suddenly had an interest in art to create a bunch of images. Before everything, all you would see is the same renderings over and over of, an Iron Man suit or some girl in an iron bikini and a giant sword, right? And that was all you saw. Yeah. And now all of a sudden it's like, I want to see some turtles with eating sushi. Like, wait, what?
Yeah. Yeah. Yes, you're right. I see what you mean. You have a point. The reason is because doing something is hard. Whatever, being good at doing something is just hard. It means time. And people don't have the patience anymore to become good at something. They just want it. It's like a supermarket, you know. I cook all the time, by the way. But if I want to do a lasagna, it's quite a lot of work, right? I have to make the pasta. I have to make the ragu sauce. I have to make the bechamel. I have to procure the ingredients, right? Some people just prefer to go to the supermarket and buy frozen lasagna. I don't, because I enjoy the process of doing it too, by the way. But it's hard, and maybe people cannot live by having the first 5 lasagna not well done because they were in the process. But I still think that we should, it's like whatever, a gun. You know, with a gun you can go hunting, procure yourself food, and in the past mostly, and or even now, and have something nice to eat, but you can also kill a person.
Yeah.
So it's something to use only when, with a bit of, you need to have a brain to use it. Basically, you need to be self-responsible. It's like, hey, you should always ask yourself, am I becoming more stupid by doing this?
Yeah. Listen, I'm 100% get it. I'll use my own analogy. Like this is a fly that I tie.
Fishing.
Right?
Yeah.
And I tie these myself, right? Fly fishing is actually significantly harder to catch fish with fly fishing than other methods. So why not just use other methods? Because that's the challenge and that's the beauty and that's the exciting,
Yeah,
et cetera,
exactly.
et cetera. So I totally get it. And plus, it's a very analog experience, right? When you go from a bare hook and you use these feathers and you create all these things you made the thing, they made the thing that did the thing. And it's like this whole experience and all you catch is a little fish, but that fish means so much more. Now, at the same time, when I'm talking about AI stuff and I see all the stuff that people are doing, and yes, there's a lot of ethical questions of where all the sources have, all of those are serious problems that need to be addressed. But when I just see all this crazy stuff that is out there, I'm sort of like, wow, people have got some really weird stuff in their heads. And this is exciting to me. The fact that people have very interesting, weird thoughts and no, they don't just want to see a superhero anymore. They want to see some really interesting things. And so this leaves me hopeful for humanity in the sense that there is some people are interesting again to me.
I think people were, I see what you mean. I think people were always interesting. They just maybe...
They didn't know how to express it.
For example, here in Japan, there is a huge comic book market.
Of course.
I'm talking black and white, little books. And I think a large majority of young people make money by writing this comic. They're totally weird. There are some crazy stuff. There is one of my favorite is called Terme Roma. Is a guy that goes into a onsen, Japanese onsen. And every time he goes into this onsen, he gets transported in time into ancient Roman times, into ancient Rome. Okay. Where they also, by the way, do the baths. The baths. So he emerges back in time in Rome, and he's a Japanese guy, a modern Japanese guy. So it's absurd. I'm sorry, it's the reverse. He's a Roman guy. It's the reverse. He's a Roman guy that every time goes into the bath emerges in Japan, or they basically do both ways. Now I forgot. Anyway, it's absolutely amazing. But yes, I can tell you by words this, right? And it stimulates your brain. This sounds interesting, but ultimately you need to watch it and read it, and this is done by hand. So I still think, yes, there is people are interesting, yes, and these tools are useful. But it's a pity that people that have all these good ideas or ideas that don't necessarily need to be good don't try to learn a craft to make them themselves. That's actually a responsibility of education, and I think education in the modern world sucks totally 100%, and it's a disaster that become worse and worse over time, and it's a pity. And maybe it's because teachers are not well paid. I don't know what's. I mean, there could be multiple reasons.
Or maybe we just need to revise our education system.
Well, I think whatever any country should do, the best investment you can do is education. There is nothing that comes close to education. So whatever other investment they do is not good compared to education. And usually education is left more and more to private schools, or and that means you need to have a gazillion of money, or you're super in debt. If you're in the States, it's suicidal. You're in debt, when you're 20 or don't know 200 grand. That's completely stupid.
Yeah, you owe money until you retire.
Yeah, so it's ridiculous. This is for me. It's so I mean, I understand you're optimistic. I'm
trying to find it. What do you see? I'm trying to. What is your optimistic view of what's exciting to you? What's exciting to you right now? Like, if you're thinking about the future in 5 years, what gets you excited? What gets you out of bed?
I mean, you're not gonna like my answer. What is exciting is I can't wait to stop working and just skiing and being in nature and being completely away from computers. I was just 10 days away and I didn't do nothing. Absolutely nothing. I was so happy. My vision improved. I mean, I just want to go away from it. I gave my time, I did my time, like in jail. I did my time. That's it. I paid my debt to society.
Okay.
I'm out of here.
Yeah, I get it too.
What excites me is not doing it. That's what excites me.
I get it. I mean, I've done my fair time in front of a computer too.
You did your time.
Oh yeah. Very much so.
I know.
But I get it.
But
I still get excited by what people do. I like people, and I think that getting around people and seeing what's exciting to do is great. I like storytelling, and I think that there's something that is told through images that is exciting as well. And I'm excited by what films are going to become in the future too. I think we're in a turning point now.
Oh, I think yes, I agree with you on this. I'm very happy of these new production companies that are basically sponsored by Apple, Netflix, Amazon. The products that are coming out are amazing, like A24 Pictures or A22. They make some amazing stuff, and Netflix has some amazing stuff, and Apple and Amazon. Really, I saw some of the best movies in years.
They've been coming out recently. Well, I just had the conversation. I have another podcast called Martini Giant that we talk about movies. Martini Giant.
Martini Giant. Do you drink martini?
We used to, but we don't do it anymore. But yes, but it's just a long story. We talked about Godzilla -1, right? And we talked about how amazing that film is. And it has all the things that people complain about in movies. It has CGI. It has a franchise. It has it's a remake. It's got all these things. But what makes it great? It's a really good story.
Yeah, the story is everything.
So it doesn't matter. You can't blame it on anything else. If it's a good story, you probably have a good movie.
Yeah, absolutely. CGI is completely fine to have it or not to have it. I've seen some movies which have zero CGI. They're absolutely amazing. In fact, mostly I prefer those because most of the CGI movies I don't like because they're like a blueprint.
Yeah, but it is not because of the CGI. It's because the stories. Yeah.
No. Yes. It's just a total abuse. Yeah. But yes, some things, some products are amazing. And I think there's nothing wrong with CGI. You can. I find stupid when people say, "Oh, there's no CGI." By the way, there is always CGI. No CGI is
there's a great. I did an episode a few episodes back with a guy named Jonas Using, and he has a series on YouTube called "No CGI is Invisible CGI," and it's fantastic stuff. Yeah, really good.
Yeah, I know. It's nice. That's nice. I saw a LinkedIn post with it, and I watched. It was very good. So it's just like it's a tool, and with a tool, as we said before, you can hammer your finger and have a finger like this, or you can build a house, right? So
well, listen, thank you, Paolo. It's so awesome to finally talk to you, and I was really glad for the person who suggested to have you on. It was really cool. I'm sure we will talk to each other some more in the future, but let's.
Oh yeah, I'm available. I enjoy this. And I think you do this also because, you probably, I don't know how much of your job is doing this, but I'm sure you do it because you're interested in talking with other people, and that's probably what you get your fun.
I do. I get a little bit of fun, but I also get a lot of ideas, right? Because I hear your opinion and I was like, you know what? And then every time people bring up a conversation, I was like, well, I was talking to Pablo the other day, and he's, I know exactly what's going on. So, yeah, for sure.
Cool. I enjoyed very much. So whenever you want, I'm available.
All right. Well, thanks, man.